The invitation arrived like a cruel joke wrapped in a glossy envelope, dredging up memories she had spent 10 years trying to bury. Her name was printed neatly at the center, the same name that had once been whispered in hallways with laughter, scribbled on desks with insults, and announced during roll calls followed by muffled snickers. They were inviting her, the so-called class loser, to the 10-year reunion. And deep down she knew it wasn't to celebrate her, it was to see her fail one last time. What none of them knew was that the girl they once broke would arrive not with shame, but with thunder from the sky. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet comebacks that shake the world, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still healing. Back in school, she had been invisible and painfully visible at the same time. Invisible to teachers who never noticed her trembling hand raised halfway, visible to bullies who noticed everything else. Her clothes were always slightly outdated, her shoes worn at the edges, her lunches packed with silence instead of money. She lived with her widowed mother in a cramped apartment that smelled of old books and struggle, and every morning she carried that weight into school like a badge she never asked for. They mocked her for her stutter when she was nervous, for the way she hunched her shoulders as if trying to disappear, for the notebook she guarded like a treasure because it was the only place she felt safe. High school was not a chapter of growth for her, it was a battlefield. Group projects turned into exclusions. Sports days turned into public humiliation. Even the reunion planning committee had once been led by the same people who had voted her most likely to fail. When graduation came, she left quietly. No tears, no hugs, just relief mixed with fear. The world beyond school felt just as cold, but at least it was unfamiliar. She worked odd jobs, studied at night, failed more times than she succeeded, and learned to survive without applause. The years that followed were not magical. There was no overnight transformation, no sudden rescue. There were nights she cried herself to sleep, questioning her worth, replaying laughter from a decade ago. There were days she almost gave up, when rejection emails piled up and her bank balance felt like an insult. But there was also something new growing inside her, something stubborn and unbreakable. Pain had sharpened her focus. Loneliness had taught her discipline. Being underestimated had become her secret weapon. She discovered her talent accidentally, during a temporary job helping catalog data for a small tech startup. Patterns made sense to her in a way they didn't to others. Numbers spoke to her calmly, logically, without judgment. She taught herself coding late into the night, using borrowed laptops and free online courses. She failed interviews, was told she lacked confidence, presence, polish. Still, she kept going. She learned to speak slowly, clearly, even when her heart raced. She learned to look people in the eye, even when fear tried to pull her gaze down. Over time, the world began to respond differently. A small promotion here, a risky project there, then a breakthrough idea that saved a company millions. Her name started appearing in places she never imagined. She invested carefully, worked relentlessly, and lived simply even when she no longer had to. Success did not erase her past, but it softened its grip. She no longer needed validation, yet part of her still carried the scars of being the girl everyone laughed at. So when the reunion invitation came, it reopened wounds she thought had healed. The wording was polite, enthusiastic, almost fake. They said they wanted to reconnect, reminisce, celebrate how far everyone had come. She read between the lines easily. She imagined their surprise if she didn't show up, followed by smug satisfaction that she was still hiding. For days she considered throwing the invitation away, but something inside her shifted. This was not about them anymore. This was about her choosing not to run. She decided to attend, not out of revenge, but closure. She did not plan a dramatic entrance at first. She booked a hotel, arranged her schedule, and told herself it was just another room full of strangers. But fate, or perhaps a sense of poetic justice, had other plans. A business meeting across the city ran late, and the only way to make it on time was by chartering a helicopter. She hesitated for a moment, aware of how it might look, then smiled to herself. For once, she allowed life to be cinematic. The reunion was held at an upscale venue, decorated with fairy lights and nostalgia. Old photos played on screens, capturing moments she remembered very differently from everyone else. Laughter filled the air as former classmates hugged, compared careers, flaunted success. A few of them glanced at the entrance, clearly waiting. Some more smirks, others curiosity. They expected her to arrive quietly, if at all, slipping into a corner like she used to. The sound came first, distant but unmistakable. A low, powerful thrum that made conversations pause and heads turn. The helicopter descended nearby, lights cutting through the evening sky. Guests stepped outside, confused, excited, phones already raised. When she stepped out moments later, calm and composed, dressed simply but elegantly, the air shifted. There was no arrogance in her posture, no need to prove anything. She walked with the ease of someone who had survived worse than judgment. Recognition spread slowly, then all at once. Whispers replaced laughter. Eyes widened. The same people who once mocked her now struggled to place her in their mental hierarchy. She greeted a few politely, smiled at others, and moved through the crowd like she belonged there, because she did. No announcement was made. None was needed. Her presence spoke louder than any speech. Throughout the evening, stories unfolded around her. People bragged about achievements that suddenly felt small. Some avoided her entirely, ashamed or threatened. Others approached awkwardly, curiosity outweighing pride. She listened more than she spoke, just as she always had, but this time silence was power, not fear. She realized something important then. She no longer needed them to understand her journey. It was enough that she had lived it. As the night wore on, the organizer finally gathered the courage to acknowledge her, praising her success with forced enthusiasm. The room applauded, some sincerely, others reluctantly. She nodded in thanks, feeling a strange mix of triumph and sadness. Not sadness for herself, but for the years wasted on cruelty, for the people who never learned that kindness costs nothing. Standing there, she remembered the girl she used to be, sitting alone at lunch, dreaming of escape. She wished she could tell her that survival would turn into strength, that silence would turn into wisdom, that one day she would walk into the same room that broke her and leave it changed. She did not feel superior. She felt free. As the reunion drew to a close, she stepped outside once more, the night air cool against her skin. The helicopter waited, rotors still. Behind her, the venue buzzed with conversations that would fade by morning. Ahead of her was a life she had built with patience and pain. She took one last look back, not with bitterness, but acceptance. Some chapters do not need rewriting, they just need ending. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own quiet struggles or someone you believe in, please take a moment to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps these stories alive and reaching the people who need them most. And before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment the word strong below if you believe that being underestimated can become the greatest source of power. She boarded the helicopter without looking back, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. As it lifted into the sky, she felt lighter than she had in years, not because she had proven them wrong, but because she had finally proven herself right. The girl they invited to mock had arrived by helicopter, yes, but more importantly, she arrived healed, whole, and unafraid.